Welcome back to Grade 7 Geography, Unit number 2, Our World's Natural Resources, Use and Sustainability. This is lesson number 20. What are the challenges facing flow resources? Water, wind, and sunlight are all flow resources. They are all part of the global commons, meaning that they are shared by all people. However, not all countries have equal access to these resources. This leads to conflicts between countries. For Canadians, getting water is as easy as going to the tap. Our taps are connected to the municipal water system, which gets water from groundwater, lakes, rivers, and reservoirs. Our water is cleaned at the treatment plant before it reaches our taps. In rural areas and developing countries, however, people have to go to wells to get their water. Some rural areas have storage tanks where water is filtered and stored for future use. In developing countries, people need to boil their water to make it clean enough to drink. Canada has the world's fourth largest supply of fresh water. For Canadians, taking a shower or getting a fresh glass of water is taken for granted. However, there are over 750 million people in the world who do not have the same level of access to fresh water. So just looking at this sample circle graph here, how water is consumed, we can actually see that the majority of water is used for taking a bath and shower. And what surprised me was that only 10% is used with regards to food and cooking. Sometimes there's unequal access to clean water within a city. Delhi, the capital city of India, is an example of this. Cities can face water shortages, and people who are poor have to wait for hours or days for water to be delivered on trucks. Riots can break out when people get anxious about not having enough water. Leaks from pipes or spills caused by delivery trucks also result in wasted water. There are different threats to water supplies. Some countries have few lakes or rivers. If the population increases too much, then the demand for water increases to a point where there is not enough water for everyone. Sometimes drought can seriously reduce the amount of available water. Climate change can reduce rainfall, which leads to a depletion of groundwater. Rising ocean levels can contaminate groundwater as well. Contaminated groundwater can be used for industrial purposes, but it definitely cannot be used for drinking. While we have easy access to clean water in Canada, we still need to conserve water. Every time we turn on the tap, we use water that has been cleaned. Cleaning water requires energy, time, and money. When we use less water, we do not need to create more river diversions. There is more available groundwater, which helps other ecosystems. Our communities save money. There are some very simple ways to reduce water use, and this young student has some very good ideas in uh, their school activity. We can take shorter showers. We can turn off the tap while we brush our teeth. And we can also eat less meat. Believe it or not, this will make you less thirsty. Air pollution is a global problem. Natural events which we have no control over can cause air pollution. These include volcanic eruptions, the topography of an area, wind, and forest fires. However, much of our air pollution is caused by things we do. Industrial and vehicle emissions create highly polluted cities. The Great Smog of 1952 in England is an example of wind patterns combining with factories burning coal, causing a heavy fog that kept the smog in London, killing 4,000 people. And no, this is not an image from an old 1950s British sci-fi movie. This actually happened to the point where even police constables had to wear masks when they were walking on patrol. Air pollution is dangerous for many reasons. It is linked to lung cancer, among other problems. Air pollution kills plant life and destroys ecosystems. Plants that survive carry pollutants, which kill the animals that eat the plants. Air pollution is carried in the wind, meaning that pollutants are carried into other regions and end up in other bodies of water. The biodiversity of ecosystems is seriously limited. Governments can do a lot to address the issue of air pollution. They can act by making laws that force people to reduce their emissions. Many countries, including Canada, are banning a greater number of sprays and aerosols that damage the ozone layer. The amounts of chemicals that are staying in the atmosphere are falling, but it will take an estimated 60 years for the levels to return to normal. And some of you might know this. In Ontario, drivers have to get an emission test for their car every year. You may hear your parents talking about this. If the car fails the test, it needs to be repaired or modified. That means changed so that it makes fewer emissions. Individuals can also take action to reduce air pollution. Before buying household products, look for warning labels on the container. Riding a bike or taking public transit instead of using a car are very simple ways to make an important difference. So, here are some questions we're going to discuss at the start of tomorrow's class. 1. Do you think you take water for granted? That means you personally. Number 2. How do we waste water? Number 3. What can we do to save water at home and at school? And number 4. What can Canadians do to help people living in countries that have water shortages? So 4 very important questions. So before you turn off your computer, before you exit this video, I want you to put it on pause, consider your ideas for each of these 4 questions, and then we'll talk about this tomorrow. But for now, that ends today's video.